In this episode I'm going to do some sponge chipping, some 3-layer chipping, and I'm going to do the decals. Stay tuned! Hello my friends, let's start with a little acrylic glossy blue and then add some black to it, just to shift the color a bit. If for some reason you are not familiar with the sponge chipping, it is a technique where we dip a sponge end in the paint, then unload the majority of the paint on a paper towel. Then we use the sponge to transfer the remaining paint on the model in the form of randomly placed specks. To avoid getting actual texture on the surface as much as possible, I added a drop of acrylic drying retarder in the paint. Hope that it will help. In my case, I am trying to achieve a superficial scratches and paint discoloration, but the technique can be used for bare metal chipping as well. I will focus my paint wear / damage weathering where I think there is more traffic from maintenance and flight crew, and moving parts like the wing folding area and so on. The goal of this layer is to be visible only from a short distance. Initially I wanted to do the weathering in one episode, but then I realized this is going to end up in a very long video, so there will be 2 weathering episodes. Most of the tools and materials I use you can find in the description. I used the same paint to do some dry brushing on the wing folding mechanism. Now it's time to focus on the chipping. Watch this video until the end and I will give you a nice tip on how to solve an issue with this technique. Using some water, I got the hairspray activated. And with the help of a dental brush and a few paint brushes, I started removing layers of paint on specific areas. My reasoning behind the areas I chose is as follows. On the panels that are more often removed for maintenance, repairs and so on, I did chipping along the panel lines. The way I see things is that those panels are removed then placed away, therefore the chipping due to the process occurs only on the edges. On the upper wing surfaces, especially near the wing roots, I want to replicate wear caused by the crew walking up and down minding their own business, and the pilot climbing in and out of the cockpit. In my opinion, the panel edges are most susceptible to such wear, but it would spread on high traffic areas. For the wing and the tail planes leading edges, there would be a mix between impact chips and wear. Now, allow me to tell you about my Patreon page. If you choose to support the channel on Patreon, for only $1 a month, you will get early access to my videos and you can watch them ads free. Also, I post updates of my current builds every other day. Furthermore, you can have high resolution wallpapers with the finished models. And on top of that, you will get a discount for my merchandise. Once again, for only $1 a month. The link of my Patreon page is in the description. I do not use this technique very often and I was caught unprepared on several occasions. On some places, the paint has just the right amount of resistance to give me control over the process and I was able to create fine and nice chipping. In other areas, the paint was too stubborn and in my quest to remove it, I powered through too much paint and sometimes too bare plastic. In some other occasions, the paint gave up too quickly, resulting in oversized paint wear. All this comes to prove that this technique has a steep learning curve and will give good results only to those who fully understand and control the process. Which left me with some mediocre results. I will try some fine airbrushing to save what I can in the next episode, but apart from a few spots, I think the thing looks good so far. Let's move on and put the decals in place. Using my default setting solution, the Mr. Mark Setter Neo, I placed the decals and then I removed the excess liquid with cotton bud. Since the solution has not set yet, I can adjust the decals as needed. Overall, the decals went down flawlessly with the exception of a weird overlapping of the lower wing insignia with one of the attachment points for the edge bars. Granted, the decal has a cutout in it, but it was a delicate dance of the tweezers. The small service stencils are nice and readable, just add that little bit of realism to the whole scene. After applying each large decal or series of small decals, I used a Gamma Hypersaw, which is a very strong solution, to help the decals set in the relief of the surface. The solution did almost perfect job even on that lower wing insignia. And on the panel lines, where it was a bit too much to ask from the decals to sink in, I used my X-Acto blade to make a cut inside the panel line, then I applied solving solution on the cuts. Now everything is nicely tucked in. At this point I will add the engine and the cowl to the fuselage, so I can get adequate weathering on all sections of the airframe. In previous builds I had issues with weathering different pieces separately, only to realize that it looks awful when I get them together. When contrast is where it's not supposed to be, it does not look okay. As it can be expected, the assembly of those parts is a breeze. Here I would like to express my gratitude to the people supporting the channel on Patreon. Your support is very important and I hope you enjoy being a patron. As I promised, here is a tip on the hairspray chipping. Plain water and gloss paint do not like each other. The water starts to bead and it's difficult to control. Then the water cannot penetrate the surface and activate the hairspray. To solve this issue, all we need is a drop of liquid soap or dishwashing detergent. Now we eliminated the surface tension. The water is easily manipulated on the surface and has all the time it needs to go to the hairspray. Much easier to work this way. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did so, please hit the like button and watch more of my videos. Thank you for watching this far, and until next time, happy modeling!